Surely you know that Peppa Pig is a cartoon that is part of the childhood of millions of children and even adults. But do you have any idea about the absurd number of mysteries in this cartoon that have never been answered? Where is Miss Gazelle's country? For example, one of the biggest questions never answered in the show is about where Madame Gazelle, and likewise the rock gazelles, came from. That's because we know that the children's teacher in the cartoon is not from England, unlike almost all the characters that appear in the show. Since the show's creators are from that country, and even the Queen of England has appeared in an episode to make it clear where everyone lives. But at the same time, it's never been said exactly where Madame Gazelle came from. The cartoon gives us some details that can make us discard some possibilities. For example, in the episode where everyone thinks the teacher is leaving for good, we see that Daddy Pig calls her two sisters, Greta and Gretel, to ask them to come play at her farewell party. At that moment, we notice that although Peppa's town is normal and sunny, where the rock gazelles are, everything is covered in snow, making it clear that it's a very cold country or where it snows at some point during the year. Moreover, when the Pink Piglet's family visits their teacher's house and Mr. Bull decides to explore the giant pine tree next to the house, on the top floor, they identify bats. Upon seeing the little nocturnal animals, Madame Gazelle's reaction was very good, and she even said that the bats reminded her of her homeland. Based on all this, we can't be sure, but probably the country where Peppa's teacher came from that meets these requirements would be Romania, where Transylvania is known as the birthplace of vampires, hence there are many bats. And also in that country, there are mountains where there is snow in part of the spring, which would explain the snow at the rock gazelle's house, while in Peppa's town, it's already the blossoming season. But as we said, this is still a mystery since the cartoon itself has not confirmed if she is really from there, despite all indications pointing to yes. Check out with us all the incredible mysteries that still have no answers in Peppa Pig. Is Mr. Wolf the big bad wolf? One of the most intriguing characters in the series is certainly Mr. Wolf. From the first time he appeared in the cartoon, when Daddy Pig handed him his house, we see that the wolf alludes to the story of the three little pigs, as he blows the house to test it and then asks Peppa's dad where he and his family live. Another time we see allusions to fairy tale stories with characters who are bad wolves happens when the pig family goes to Grandma's house, and on the way, they meet Mr. Wolf saying he is hungry.
Just a little bit hungry.
And later we see him leaving Grandma's house. Just like in the story of Little Red Riding Hood, where the wolf devours Grandma. So according to all these hints, nothing is more legitimate than asking, is Mr. Wolf the big bad wolf from fairy tales? It may not be, but he certainly meets all the requirements. Where do Mr. Potato's powers come from? As we will talk about shortly, the existence of talking vegetables by itself is already a big mystery. However, the fact that one of these vegetables has superpowers is even more intriguing. That's because when we see Super Potato coming on the scene, he almost always appears flying from the sky. And unlike other talking vegetables, like Mrs. Carrot, who uses a thick rope to simulate that she is flying, which even the children in the audience notice. In other words, Super Potato really has the ability to fly. Moreover, he also has above-average strength, as we see when he manages to save Mr. Potato from his car where he got stuck. So the big question is, where do these powers of the vegetable superhero come from? Was he born with them, or did he acquire them over time? A bizarre theory states that both animals and vegetables may have emerged after a kind of radioactive catastrophe, giving life and intelligence to these two groups, making them act like humans. If this is true, we cannot say, but surely this is still one of the biggest mysteries in Peppa Pig. The funniest part is that this mystery comes with another one just as interesting. I know you love to play, so check out this awesome Sonic toy for you to have fun with. Click the link in the first pinned comment and take it home. Are Super Potato and Mr. Potato brothers? This is because the two characters are almost completely identical. So much so that many even thought the characters were the same person until the episode we mentioned above where Super Potato saves Mr. Potato. Then you might think, of course they look alike. After all, they're potatoes. Yes, that's true, but we see that in characters who are very similar, like Daddy Pig and Uncle Pig, who are brothers. They have small differences in their beards that distinguish them. However, in the case of the two leguminous characters we're talking about, even their mustaches are identical, with only their outfits differing. So the possibility arises that makes perfect sense. Are Super Potato and Mr. Potato twin brothers? If I were to guess, I would say yes. And you?
Tomorrow for sure.
Where is Aunt Dottie? We know that Peppa and George have an aunt named Dorothy who is just called Aunt Dottie. We don't know if she is Daddy Pig's or Mummy Pig's sister, but we do know that she doesn't know the children personally, at least not as far as they remember, and besides, we know she doesn't live in England, but in a distant country. So much so that when she sends a present to her nephews, which is the sparkly wheeled horse, she sends a letter, and it is clear that she lives very far away. But where does she live? We don't know yet, But we can tell you where she doesn't live and discard some possibilities. Besides England, we can say she also doesn't live in France, which is the neighboring country, as when the Pig family goes there, they don't meet the character, but instead Delphine and her family. The same goes for the USA, as when the Pig family goes there to visit Hollywood because of the award they received to meet Super Potato and participate in the filming of his movie, we see Peppa, his parents, and little brother crossing the entire American territory, but no sign of Aunt Dottie. One of the places where fans believe she might live would be a country much further away than France and even larger than the USA in territorial extent: Russia. The idea came up in the episode where Madame Gazelle plays a game involving various countries. We see George wearing a typical Russian outfit that could have been sent by his aunt for him to wear on this International Day. This makes a lot of sense, but it still hasn't been confirmed by the show's creators. What is Mummy Pig's name? The truth is, apart from the children in the show, most of the characters haven't had their names revealed over the more than 20 years Peppa Pig has been airing. And when this happens, it's always partially within families. For example, we know that Madame Gazelle's sisters are named Greta and Gretel, but Peppa's teacher is called Gigi, which are the initials GG. The same applies to the Pig family, because in the Valentine's Day episode, from the love card sent by the children's father to his wife, we discover his name is Snufflekins.
Hugs and kisses, Snufflekins.
However, we never find out the name of the family's matriarch, as we only call her Mummy Pig, which is certainly not her name. And this is one of the mysteries we honestly don't know if it will ever be revealed. If you really love cartoons, we have some incredible news for you. We've launched a new quiz channel. In it, we'll test our knowledge about our favorite cartoons and movies like Bluey, Peppa Pig, and many others. It will be a journey full of challenges, laughter, and lots of fun with Wavy. Don't waste any time. Subscribe now at the link in the description or point your camera at the QR code on the screen and start playing. I'll see you there. Is Molly Mole's family poor? One thing that's cool about Peppa Pig is that no class differences are shown between the characters, even if they do exist. However, one character makes us think that she and her family might have slightly less favorable financial conditions compared to the other characters. And one of the things that makes us understand this better is their house. We know that most of the constructions in the cartoon are built on the tops of small hills, like the pig's residence and the children's school. However, in Molly Mole's case, we notice that her house wasn't built by Mr. Bull, nor designed by Daddy Pig, who is the town's architect. On the contrary, the Mole family chose to build their house with their own hands. And they did this underneath the Rabbit family's house, which is already a burrow and not on the high part of a hill, but inside it. This raises the question, do they do this to save money, or is it simply in the nature of moles to live in such places? The question remains, who knows? One day we might find out. Who is the narrator? Not all cartoons have narrators, but some do, and they are very famous because of it. Like in the case of the Powerpuff Girls, and it's also the case with Peppa Pig. And because the narrator is always present at the beginning and the end, and often in the moments in the middle of episodes, fans of the cartoon wonder if the narrator could be one of the characters from the Pink Piglet series, or maybe even a character we know must exist, but hasn't appeared yet. Among the most talked about characters, many say it could be Susie's dad, who has never been seen in the series, even though we know he exists. Others speculate it could even be Mr. Potato, who is behind several things that happen in the cartoon. The truth is, we still don't know who the narrator of Peppa's show is, but it's quite likely that it's someone close to all the characters and that one day it will be revealed. At least, that's how I like to think about it, as it makes everything even more exciting.
I'm very excited about this.
We're leaving 2 video options for you to watch and continue having fun with us here on our channel. Both are very good. You just need to click on the one you prefer. Thanks, and see you in the next video.